Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is a hot topic and I might ruffle some feathers, although I think that YouTube is a pretty safe space because most of my followers here are men. I got into some debates on my TikTok channel because women were defending a point in which I think is really messed up. We're talking about the end of relationships and essentially how women will oftentimes mentally break up for years before they actually physically break it off with a man. And I'll tell you, I'll hint at my perspective on this is that I feel like it's a lack of communication and it's very unfair to drag something out and to be pretending like everything is fine when everything is not fine. For you to kind of go along and just pretend like things are okay because of whatever excuses you have, I just don't think it's right. But what I want to do today is I want to share both sides. So both the sides of the argument, the woman's perspective and the argument that I've been hearing from a lot of women commenting, and then I'm going to tell you the man's side. And then I'm going to tell you my perspective and what I think the solution is. So let's dive into it. We got to start with the woman's argument for doing this, such as, he should have known because he's a grown adult. He's just playing stupid. Another thing that I hear often is, he was given the chance to fix it when she told him things that were wrong. Okay, just because you say words to somebody doesn't mean that you've actually communicated all of the meaning behind it. This is another one that I hear. Women are expected and able to anticipate everyone else's needs without being told. And women want men to step up without having to tell men exactly what to do. So this is when we're talking about mental load, right? And I understand to some degree, if if a man is not like literally doing nothing on his own, how that would be mentally draining. But again, like, you would need to have that conversation with him, that you actually don't want to have to form those lists and to kind of work on that within the relationship. Plus, how did you end up getting into a relationship long term with somebody that has probably always been that way? Like, that's nothing new. Like, he didn't, take care of things just fine without being told things that you like done specifically before, and then he all of a sudden changed. Like, I just don't hear that happening. I think that what happened is that your expectations changed, right? That you got into a serious or more serious relationship, or you guys moved in together and you had these expectations, but you never actually discussed them with each other. So I think that there are moments really where men do just need to be told potentially like what you're needing from him in the moment, because they are not mind readers. And even if you've had discussions in the past about how you do like it when he does ABC, like, if that was 6 months ago, it's okay to give a reminder. Women will even get upset at her man for not understanding when she says something very generalized, like, hey babe, I need you to step up and share more of the load. I'm exhausted and I can't continue this way. That is, okay, you're saying words to him. You're trying to communicate, but that's not communicating details of what that really means to you. Like, what would him stepping up actually look like to you? You need to be able to continue the conversation and be able to speak in details. And for a lot of women, I think that's difficult because they haven't really taken time or had the ability to truly assess their own needs, and they're kind of stuck in their emotions. They just feel overwhelmed and they feel like they're doing more, but they're not stepping back and kind of taking notes on what he's doing versus what she is doing, and feeling, gratitude towards the things that he is doing, and finding that there's understanding and balance between both of them, potentially doing different things and providing different things. And it just is too generalized of a message to a man for him to really be able to take that and run and to, make the changes that you're thinking you need him to do. All right, guys, so let's get into the man's side, right? I think a lot of you will agree with these things. So a man will say that she didn't clearly communicate that certain things were that big of a deal, right? Like, why is taking the trash out within 10 minutes of her asking that big of a deal? I just saw a TikTok today of a woman being upset that she asked her husband to wash out all the bottles, and it looked like there were a lot of bottles on the edge of the sink, all nice and clean. He did it, right? Oh, but he didn't take care of the two other dishes in the sink and the pan that looked clean, anyways, on the stove, and the pizza boxes that were sitting out on the counter. But okay, how is he supposed to know that what you mean by, hey, can you clean out the bottles, really means like, I don't want anything dirty in the kitchen, hon. Can you take care of all of it and make sure it's spotless? Which for him, like, it would probably be fine. He would probably get it done if you just communicated that with him. Another part of the man's side. Most women will speak in generalities and expect a man to just know. So this is the argument that I was saying a woman will use from earlier, when she says, I just need you to step up. I need you to take more of the load. That's a generality, right? She's speaking in generalities. He doesn't know what that actually means. You need to break it down into detail for him. And it's not because he's a child. It's because everyone could potentially have different meanings and different details from that generalized statement. Everybody's different. It's not because he's not a man, not a grown-up, and he doesn't get it. This actually leads into the other point of the man's side, is that when he actually asks for clarification, he will sometimes get the, use your eyes, you're an adult, figure it out. Like, that's not helpful. That's putting up a wall. That is setting him up for failure, and it's not fair. So this is my perspective on the whole issue. Okay, I have a few points. First of all, saying words to someone does not mean that you have clearly communicated, and it does not mean that you've reached an understanding within the agreement on how to move forward. You are just as responsible when the receiver of your words isn't really receiving what's in your head. I don't think the solution is ever going to be one-sided, because even though you felt unloved and your needs were not being met, I bet you his weren't either. I think that women need to be more direct in their communication. Bigger discussions need to be had if the smaller asks are not being done and are not being completed the way that you're expecting them to be completed. You need to actually have that deeper conversation. Because I think that if you don't have that deeper conversation, the most dangerous thing is that woman will assume the worst in her man that she chose to be with. You're setting him up for failure, which means that you're setting up your relationship for failure. And the reality is that a lot of women don't understand is that he's likely carrying different mental loads that are impacting him. He's just not readily sharing them. But if a woman believed the best in him, and if she would show some grace for the potential things that he's doing, I think that the conversation, that sit-down conversation between partners, would be more equalized. There wouldn't be that resentment there and that anger and all of those terrible emotions that are tough to deal with when you're trying to compromise. And I think that it would be way more productive. And the last thing I'm going to say, this is the other thing that a lot of women will fall into, is that she will just be resentful and she'll just go ahead and do that extra work and she'll pick up the slack, per se. And I'm definitely not saying that the solution is to pick up his slack and just do more things that you had asked him to do at one time. Men do not feel supported by you by doing the things for him. He feels supported by talking to him and by not being upset at him. Your man would much rather have another to-do list rather than the silent treatment and that built up resentment and anger. Please, guys, I am interested to know your thoughts on this and your experiences especially. So leave a comment, leave a like, and I'll see you guys next week.